So I can be here now. There's a terminal. Miss Keys' insomnia seems to have gotten worse, so we ended up ordering the new autodock upgrades. Must have cost Sinclair a fortune. The new programs for the autodock ameliorate the effects of exhaustion. Have already spoken to the staff about side effects and dangers of prolonged use. Wanted to make sure they weren't using it to pull double shifts. Sinclair asked if these codes could be downloaded into the public dispensers. The codes aren't compatible, unfortunately. He said he'd, quote, look into it, unquote. Guess his contact at Big Mountain will be getting a call soon. And this Big Mountain is another DLC that I think was already out when this DLC came out. Because I'm doing the DLCs in order of canonical storyline rather than necessarily release. So this thing is now disabled, which means that we're closer to our objective. Let's just check this room. There's another auto dock. Yeah, there's definitely somebody banging on a door. It's that auto dock. Excuse me. I don't hear anybody saying anything. Wait, that sounds like drills and whatnot. Malfunctioning autodock. Yep, that's drills. The woman before you looks disoriented, pained. She blinks a few times, then winces as if the act of blinking causes her pain. Are you all right? She looks at you, blinks again, and then opens her mouth, but nothing comes out. She touches her throat, then traces the scar beneath the chin, and her eyes widen in alarm. Did somebody cut your vocal cords? She looks shaken as she glances at the other dog. She recoils and her mouth opens, but again, nothing comes out. She looks back at you and her hands clench into fists, her eyes narrow, and she takes a step back, studying you. This isn't what it looks like. The woman opens her mouth again, winces, and then frowns and drags a finger across her throat in a slow motion. She looks more angry than pained now. Frowning, she touches her throat again gently, then her hand brushes her collar, and then her frown deepens. Her eyes narrow as she traces the edge of the collar until she finds the lock. She begins to press it with her fingers. Don't do that! She looks surprised, then notices your collar and raises an eyebrow. Let's just say we're in this together. She frowns, narrows her eyes, then slowly shakes her head. We need to cooperate if we're going to get out of here. She shakes her head again and draws a line in the air between the two of you. Look, together we can get out of this. She shakes her head once and then crosses her arms. What exactly is wrong? Don't you want out of here? She frowns, glances at the color, looks back at you. She makes a circle with her hands, puts her hand over her eyes and squints. She nods at you, then lowers her hand from her eyes, shakes her head. She draws a slow line between you. You're looking for something else. Fine, I can help. She studies you again, then her expression softens slightly. She shakes her head slowly and gives a silent sigh. She nods at you, then raises an eyebrow and nods at the door. All right, come with me. Christine nods and steps slightly behind you, waiting. Christine has given you the signal interference perk. This perk grants you a short period of time near a speaker before your bomb collar starts to activate, as well as increasing the amount of time before your bomb collar detonates by 50%. And she's freaking out because of the physics engine. And she's the best companion, as we well know, because she doesn't say her lines over and over again. Because the other ones just keep repeating their lines time and again. Let's see. Let's have a chat here. Christine raises an eyebrow. Do you know how to get out of here? She points in the direction of the main gate, then points at your color, shakes her head, and locks her hands around her neck. Then her hands lash out towards fingers splayed, and she rolls her eyes back, and for a second, she turns back to you and shakes her head. So once the colors are gone, we can just leave? She nods slowly as if thinking, and then she raises an eyebrow, looks skeptical, and shrugs. She points downwards, makes a circle around her, and then back to the same spot, and then her finger drifts, circling, and she makes a mock frown. You're saying it'll be difficult to return here if we leave. She shakes her head, points at herself, then points at you, and nods. To return here if I leave. She nods. But not you. She nods once. Why can't you find your way back? She slowly shakes her head. She points at the ground, then moves each leg outward, straddling the place where she's pointing. Yeah, you aren't going to leave. She nods. So you're after the treasure, then? She frowns, shakes her head, pauses, and then tilts her head slightly, nods slowly. Those facial scars weren't done by the Autodoc. The throat scar was. She nods slowly and then puts her hand in front of her throat, closes it slowly, and then points at you. I can't restore your voice. We'd need a real Autodoc to do that. She shivers slightly and shakes her head. I think she doesn't want her voice back. I'm not sure. I don't understand why they shaved you bald. Christine looks blankly at you, then touches her head, smiles, and shakes her head. Oh. You cut your own hair off. She waves her hand, then shakes her head. She then nods in the direction of the casino. No, wait. I want to hear this. You were bald before? She nods with an exasperated look and then makes a circle with her hands, repeats it twice more, and then raises her hands. She puts both hands in front of her and then makes a motion with her hands as if writing something. Both of these lead to the same thing. One because I did the Brotherhood of Steel quest, but the other one because I have Intelligence 7 or higher. Wait, that's a Brotherhood of Steel symbol, right? You're a scribe. She nods and looks impressed. How the hell did you get out here? She shrugs and then points to you and shrugs. Where were you before? She moves her finger in a wider circle, then raises her hand over her eyes. You're looking for someone? She nods and raises a finger. A man? She nods. She makes a motion with her hands around her chin, drawing it down, and then she raises her hands and clenches them at the sky. An angry bearded man. She points at your Pip-Boy. The man on the Pip-Boy holotape. Elijah. She nods, looks concerned, taps the side of her head, and expands her hands. Someone smart. She nods, then circles her ear. And nuts? She nods and frowns. Sounds like it's pretty important to you to find this person. She frowns, raises two fingers, and has them walk together. Then she looks down at the two fingers, and her face becomes angry. Then she chops her hand down and draws the two fingers apart. One of the fingers she points at herself. He cut you off from someone. She nods. And we leveled up. Family? Husband? She frowns, shakes her head, and even more so at husband. Your wife? She shakes her head, but rolls it side to side. Oh, girlfriend. She hesitates and then waves her hand. You were more... It's kind of funny to think more than girlfriends, lovers. It's such a... That's such a culture... It's not even language specific. It's culture specific to say that these two are not the same thing. But yeah, you were more than girlfriends, let alone getting that from just this conversation. You were more than girlfriends, lovers. She nods and looks at you with a little surprised. What, do you think I don't understand love? She raises an eyebrow and looks at you. I understand how important a loved one can be. She nods slowly, studying you. She seems to be gauging you again. She makes a slow circle motion after a moment, taps her wrist. Nah, it's fine, don't worry about it. I had other questions. She frowns, then cups her hands to her ear. I'm listening. How did you end up in the Autodoc? She moves her fingers in a circle, frowns, and then drags her hand down over her eyes. She raises them again, points to you. Oh, she was knocked out. You were knocked out. She nods. She raises an eyebrow, points at you, makes a circle, then points at your feet. You want to know how I got here? She smiles and nods. She repeats the circling motion again. This time she lowers her hand and circles her finger inward until she's pointing at the spot where you're standing. Still pointing at the ground between you two, she raises an eyebrow. I followed a radio signal here, a woman's voice. She waits. After a second, she raises her eyebrow again. I was curious where it led. She looks at you for a second, studying you, then nods. She points at you, then points at the casino, and she slowly shakes her head, then points in the direction of the main gate. Are you saying it's one or the other? She frowns, glances in the direction of the casino, then at the exit, then back in the direction of the casino. She shrugs without strength or conviction. She isn't looking at you when she does. What about you? She slowly shakes her head, then points at the ground. Do you know what those machines around the villa are? Christine shakes her head and then pauses and makes a small circle with her thumb and forefinger. She points at you and makes the motion of putting something in her palm. You want a small circle? Here's a Sierra Madre chip. I'll need that back, though. She examines the chip for a second, raises it to her eye, and then turns it to the side, gauging its diameter and width. She runs her finger over the surface slowly, checking the engraving, then she tosses the chip back to you. Then she pretends to look around, sees something on the floor, and then pretends to bend down and pick it up. She then looks at you and nods. You can scrounge more somehow. She smiles and nods. She stands still for a second, then stops and slowly makes the motion of bending down and scooping something up. Then she holds the imaginary object in her hand as if heavy and puts it in front of her as if on a table. She then hefts what looks like a small box and pours it out of the object, looks at it, and then reaches down and holds a small O. You can make more of those at a workbench with the right materials. She smiles and then nods. She points at your Pip-Boy, makes a motion of opening it up and removing something from it. Then she raises her hand and makes the motion of smashing it and holding up the remains. Oh, you need a battery, a fission battery, and scrap metal? And you can counterfeit the chips. She nods, impressed, and then she points at you, then her, and makes a circle. Can you teach me how to do it? She nods, and then makes a series of hand motions to represent weight and amounts, enough so you think you could do it on your own. And Christina's taught you the coin operator perk, allowing you to make Sierra Madre, quote, chips, unquote, metal slugs at workbenches using fission batteries and scrap metal. And that explains why there are so many of those all around the map. We are not going to need them. We would if we weren't punching everybody to death. I had other questions? She raises an eyebrow, and then tilts her head slightly. Can't you communicate some other way? Can you write? Christine frowns and then pauses and traces one of the scars on her head with her finger. Then she makes a motion as if picking up a pencil, tries to write, and then shakes her head. Something to do with the surgery. She pauses, then draws a jagged symbol like electricity in the air. She puts on an odd staring face. She keeps the blank face for a second, then slowly blinks, looks around. She looks at her hands, shakes them. That's a specific form of brain surgery using electrodes. Pre-war. She nods slowly and then makes the motion of typing and drawing X's and lines in the air and then gives a thumbs up. Well, it can still do numbers and calculations. She nods. Okay. What weapons are you skilled at? Christine draws a jagged lightning bolt in the air, pantomimes throwing a grenade, and then pulls an imaginary knife from behind her back. And then she moves her feet shoulder width apart, holds hands up in the martial stance, and then turns both hands and punches a bunch of people. Then holds a pistol up, takes aim as if sighting along the barrel, and also shoots a bunch of people. So energy weapons, explosives, melee, unarmed, and guns. Is that all? She nods once. So she's basically good at everything apart from big guns. Okay, goodbye. Christine nods. Which makes sense, because if she mimicked the goodbye, then it would be kind of weird. So, do I want to go with speech? Because I don't have magazines now. I think I want to max out my speech. I might as well max out my repair. Let's go with that. Ooh, we got our second to last perk. Rad Absorption. That's the only one that we have access to. Although, there would be Roughing It if we had more survival, which I think we can. You're more at home under the open stars than under a roof. Anytime you sleep outside, you gain the benefit of being well rested, even if you don't own the bed. Nah, I've only been well rested the one time. The one time when I shouldn't have been. And it's fine. I'm totally okay with it. Let's go with toughness. And let's get out of here. I think I got everything from you. Did I? Yes, I did. Let's go. Christine stops, glances at the speaker, and then glances at your collar, frowning. Yeah, it's a decayed speaker. If we stay too long near one, it'll go off. She taps the collar and then opens and closes her hand real fast. She taps her collar and then opens and closes her hand real fast. She points at your Pip-Boy, her collar, and then at your collar. After a second, then she opens and closes her hand real fast. You can interfere with the speaker's detonation frequency somehow. She is about to nod and then stops, points at herself, and shakes her head. She points at your collar, then hers, and then nods at your Pip-Boy. She makes a triangle motion, then the same slow pulse that she did before. Does that work with any other color? She frowns, slowly shakes her head. She opens her mouth and then makes the motion of tuning a dial, then she points at herself. It's just your frequency. She nods once, then again points at the two of you and then the Pip-Boy. But only between us. She nods and motions for you to go ahead. She's referring to this thing over here. It's obviously it's her perk. But we're good. We don't need that. We do need to go upstairs because I want to see what's up there. But this is going to be something. Are we going to be okay? Maybe. Let's set this behavior to the first floor. Oh. Is it going to stay there? That was a bad decision. That was also a misclick, if you're wondering. So if that guy is just going to spawn there, I'm going to take advantage of that. Because I know the way up. And of course, because I have fast or silent running, I can just run. Good. Huh. There's a thing there. So this is a hologram emitter. This emitter controls a security hologram in this area. You may be able to disable the emitter. Yes. And now, no more hologram for me. Because they are mean. Ooh. Do I have the... no. We're missing the whiskey bottle. Dispenser codes. Codes for the public dispenser arrived today. Sinclair instructed us in their use in case of emergency. Should be able to get stims and other treatments from the machine. Sinclair indicated it could dispense more based on the nature of the medical emergency or subject's condition. Among the codes, he kept asking if we could make sure the code for MedX was backed up. He must have said it 3 times. I don't think he realized it. Must be stressed. Made a backup of the code on this terminal just in case. And we can download it. This is the restricted dispenser code for use in the vending machines. Now, MedX is morphine. It didn't exist in Fallout 1 and 2, but Bethesda decided to add it as a drug for damage resistance in Fallout 3 because, you know, that's a thing that video games do. The whole morphine being used for soldiers back in World War II and stuff like that, and before. And what happened is that apparently the use of real-life drugs made in the game made the age rating of Fallout 3 go up, and so Bethesda called it MedX instead, and that's what we have. So he's an addict of opioids, basically. And we have an easy lock over here. To Chief Physician. With 2 computers, in fact. Appointment calendar. Transmitted to Sierra Madre. Transmitted to Chief Physician's terminal. Domino plus Miss Keys. Miss Keys. Sinclair plus Miss Keys. Sinclair proposed moving 1 autodoc to casino and scheduling visits. Sinclair agreed. Miss Keys. That's not her, obviously, because this is back before, after the, well, maybe before the war, but, you know, around the war, 200 years ago, basically. And this terminal over here has the same appointment calendar? No. Miss Keys showed up today, sounds Sinclair, escorted by Mr. Domino. He explained to me Miss Keys had developed a throat infection and asked if the autodoc could help. I asked about the Sierra Madre's autodoc. He said he didn't want to, quote, alarm, unquote, Sinclair. Ran some tests. Miss Keys' voice is fine. Her loss of voice was more listlessness, symptomatic of excessive MedX usage. When I tried to speak to her about it, Mr. Domino intervened. I warned them too much of the chem could render a subject comatose, and Domino laughed. I lost my temper, and he said they'd return another time when I was in, quote, better spirits, unquote, despise that man. Unpleasant visit. Domino stopped by to ask about the test results and Vera's voice. Vera Keys, right. He seemed concerned she would lose her voice for the gala event. I told him if Miss Keys was concerned, she should see me, and I would only disclose any medical information to her. I told him the other docs were more than capable of healing Miss Keys' voice if she developed any throat infection, and we could even operate if need be if she tore her larynx. He seemed satisfied by the news, apologized, amazingly enough, and left a bottle of wine as a token of his appreciation. I told him I felt it was inappropriate. He insisted. I dumped it in the trash. I will get that bottle of wine, because this obviously happened in the very last day of, the world happening. Right there. There's no trash bin, though. I think that might be related to her losing her voice. We need to be on the lookout for that. Got some mentats, or the code for it. Today's physician. I was gonna leave that behind. Okay, well, we're leaving. There's a bad person over here attacking Christina, or Christine. Please explode. Thank you. An arm is enough. I don't think you need to lose your head. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, they do like a little dodge to the side. Okay, so I think we can just go back. In fact, I'm pretty sure... Yeah, the quest just points us in the right direction. We haven't been out long either. Say hello to these two fools. I need to talk to this guy. I want to see the hologram. That's... Keys. Vera Keys, for sure.
Good. Well done. Now for the festivities, and your parts in all this. The owner of the Sierra Madre, for whatever reason, keyed the grand opening to the gala event itself. It needs to be fired off in order for the casino doors to open. As I've discovered, one person can't do it. So get your team into position indicated on your Pip-Boy, then trigger it properly. You're so close now, don't let me down. Otherwise, I'll have to rely on the next team.
How am I supposed to get to the markers on my map?
I've unlocked the west and east gates to Cuesta del Sol and Salida del Sol. Now that you've survived the villa, I need to get to my position. You don't need me to hold your hand anymore. I'll keep monitoring you via the transceivers through the villa. If I need to offer guidance, I will.
What is the gala event?
A display of lights, fireworks, music in the streets. A pre-war festival to mark the casino's opening. The bomb struck first. It is of no consequence, only firing the event is. Get the three in position. Then travel to your position in Salida del Sol and trigger the gala. After that, the real work begins.
The real work? What was this? A warm-up?
Perhaps you think this is a simple robbery, a cheap casino heist. No, this is a heist of the centuries. We're not plundering Sierra Madre. We're plundering history, taking from the old world itself. It won't let its secrets go easily, not without a fight. I wouldn't expect anything less.
We'll head out then.
I'd suggest taking the FEV reject to his position first. Although you may need his brutality and strength elsewhere first. As easy as the villa was to navigate, the outlying areas of the villa are far more dangerous, thicker with the ghost people, traps, and toxins. Use your team as I use you. Listen to your caller. Watch where you step. You are no use to me dead.
You have lost Christine's signal interference perk. Aw. I didn't tell her to not be here. I have also binoculars.
Can't believe the idiot swallowed his collar.
Unremarkable face, I would say. I can't really identify anything. She's very unhappy about this. She really doesn't like being between these two. Christine is looking at the fountain, her eyes narrowed. She then scans the courtyard perimeter, gauging the distance. She glances at your wrist and then back at the fountain. You think he's using the Pip-Boy to establish the projection connection? She nods and raises her hands, palms facing each other, and then rotates it in a 180-degree arc and back again. I think he might be close then. Any idea where? She surveys the area, focusing upward. She glances at the casino with frowns. She then looks west and then east. Christine holds out her hand and motions at your Pip-Boy. I'm going to show her the Pip-Boy. Christine studies the Pip-Boy intently, turning your arm around as if your wrist's a sensor module she just found. She doesn't seem interested in the screen. She studies the exterior and then the casing. She seems to be making sure it's intact. Her finger stabs through the red buttons, narrowing in the local map. She scrolls Sierra Madre's main gate. She calls up the local map of the Puesta del Sol switching station, zooms in. Her intended expression loses edge. She looks at you, points at the marker on her Pip-Boy, and points west and tilts her head. Why do you think he wants you to go to the Puesta del Sol switching station? She frowns and then makes a motion as if typing at keys, and then she points at you, raises her left wrist, and pantomimes talking into it. She points at you and then her, and looks right and left, raising two fingers, tries to type, pauses, and slowly shakes her head. Yeah, neither Dean nor Dog have the technical aptitude to man the switching stations, right? She slowly nods, looking impressed. Things would be a lot easier if you did one snap for yes, two snaps for no. Would it? I don't know. Let's go with that. She smiles humorlessly, and then she nods once slowly and then shakes her head slowly. Then she looks at you, her face wrinkled in a humorless smile. Okay, I get it. Better than finger snaps. The nod slowly. Her face wrinkles more, and then she gives a reluctant smile. Okay. She looks exasperated, then waves her hands. Oh, maybe that's that line over there. This nodding, frowning, pointing you do is wearing me out. That's what I just said. No, I don't know. Because it's like, I said that line already. So maybe it's just a... I don't know. Maybe it's the same line for two different things. Okay, goodbye. She nods. So who do I need to bring with me? Get Dog. Sure. Also, get that Sierra Madre chip. Bunch of things back here. I'm not really too concerned about them. Although, I will want to look at my list of Steam packs. That's kind of good. We could get some more. How much more? Also, I can return some of my things. There we go. And then for the Steam packs, I have 1,136. The Steam packs cost 25. So I can make 100. I can make a lot of them. I'm good. I don't need them too much.